Welcome everybody. I'm Rabbi Chernitsky, Director of Challah Newfoundland. It was a pleasure to be here. We're live on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. We're going to be continuing what we started last Wednesday. We started speaking about the laws, the halachas of Tzedaka, loosely translated as charity. We spoke last class that Tzedaka, charity, is one of those words that is usually mistranslated in English, and it doesn't mean charity. It means righteousness. Tzedaka, tzedek is the right thing to do. We just started. We didn't miss anything much. Speaking to the dear Zoom participant. And so, yes, so today's the continuation. We had starting from the Kitzur Shulchan Oruch, the concise Code of Jewish Law, written by Rabbi Shlomo Gansfi in the 19th century, to make it easier for us to get a good grasp of the whole body of Jewish law. The actual Code of Jewish Law is quite lengthy, especially if you study with the commentaries, as you should. Anyway, so we have here, we're going to pick it up from law number 10, Seif Yud. This is chapter 34, I believe. Let me open up that page that you could all see. I'm going to try to show it in the Zoom as well. Let's see. 1 second, I'm going to open up in my browser and then we can put it on the Zoom also. Here's those. It's on this one either. 1 second. Here we go. It's this one. So I'm going to share in the Zoom also. Okay, here we go. Okay, so we gave the basics last time. We spoke about how to give, whom to give it to. We said charity begins at home. We spoke about the limit of how much a person can give. There is a limit, believe it or not. We said the exception would be somebody who's very, very, very wealthy. Otherwise, the limit is chaimesh, a fifth of your estate, of your property. The minimum is the 10th meiser. There's somewhat of a discussion amongst authorities whether tzedakah and giving a tithe, a 10th meiser, is that the same thing or not. In other words, if a person already gave the 10th of his earnings, does he also have to give tzedakah? Somebody comes over and asks him for money, for help. As far as I understand, the consensus is that yes, there are two different things, and therefore, even if a person already gave a 10th, he should and could give beyond the minimum obligation of giving a 10th. Okay, so let's continue. This is, again, law number 10. You could access this for free. I'm using the Chabad.org translation that they have here. Let's go. If you say, I will give charity to a specific person, you are not in violation of your vow until that poor person comes. Every person has the right to set aside money for charity, keep it in his possession, and distribute it a little at a time as he sees fit. We had said last time that if a person says, this coin is going to be for charity, he has to give it to charity right away, or he's transgressing the prohibition of delaying a vow. See here, it's law number 9, the very last law we learned together. Here, charity is in the category of vows. Therefore, if you say, I will donate money to charity, or this coin is charity, you must immediately give it to the poor. And if you delay giving it to them, you're in a violation of the commandment. You must not delay because you could have given it immediately. So, in contrast to that, law number 10, we say that when you say you're going to give it to a specific person, the prohibition will only be transgressed when the person actually comes around. And then the second point is that you could say, okay, all this money is for tzedakah, and you could give it out slowly, as you see fit. Okay, so to law number 11. If you persuade others to give charity and you motivate them, your reward is greater than the giver. As it is said, and the charity will be rewarded with peace. In the original, V'haya Maise HaTzedakah Shalom, and about the treasures of charity, or in Gabbai, in the original, treasure of charity, and others like them who collect charity, it is said, those who cause others to be righteous shall shine as the stars. and the treasurer of charity was insulted by the poor. Should not be concerned, for on account of this, his reward is even greater. Yeah, so there's such a concept, such an idea that the person who encourages others to give is actually greater. His spiritual reward is greater than somebody who gives himself. 12. The highest form about which there is none higher in the level of giving charity is to support a Jew who is in a bad financial circumstances before he becomes totally impoverished. Such aid may be rendered by giving him an appropriate gift in a dignified manner, or lending him money, or entering into a partnership with him, or helping him find a business venture or craft to strengthen his position so that he does not become dependent on people. Concerning this, it is said, strengthen him, which means support him so that he does not fall. Yeah, from Leviticus. So we are going to be looking to the Maimonides 8 levels of charity later on, but the highest form is to give somebody a job instead of giving him a fish, you teach him how to fish, and before he is totally destitute, before he has no income to help him as he's falling, is a bigger mitzvah. And of course, it's also more practical because once a person falls down on the way, God forbid, it's a lot more hard to get back on track. Number 13. Okay, we're almost done. There's just a couple more and then we'll move to something else. 13. You should take care to give charity as discreetly as possible. This is another one of the great virtues of charity, to give it in a discreet way. Yeah. And if it is possible to give it in such a way that you do not know to who you're giving, and the poor person does not know from whom he's receiving the charity, this is most commendable. Yeah, one of the highest levels. You don't know who's receiving, the person doesn't know who's giving it. In any event, do not glorify yourself with the charity you give. However, if you dedicate something to charity, it is permissible to inscribe your name on it as a remembrance memorial. In fact, it is advisable to do so, right? Because it encourages others to give to charity, right? We know there's such a concept called mitzvah lefarseim. It's a mitzvah, a commandment to, or a good, to publicize those that do a mitzvah. Why? Because it encourages other people to do a mitzvah and follow suit. Okay, number 14. One has to be especially careful to help a poor Torah scholar in a dignified manner. And if he refuses to accept charity, help him in some sort of business, sell him goods cheaply and buy his goods at a high price. And if he, the poor scholar, is capable of engaging in trade, lend him money to use in trade. As our sage of blessed memory said, whoever supplies merchandise to a Torah scholar merits to participate in the heavenly yeshiva after 120 years of life in this world. And they said, of the prophets, predictions of good fortune were said only of one who provides business opportunities for a Torah scholar and gives the Torah in marriage to a Torah scholar. Yeah, it's a very praiseworthy thing. I believe this is the last two laws that we have here, 15, 16. I'm just going to take a quick drink. 1 second. Excuse me. So, number 15, a person should always avoid taking charity. He should suffer hardship rather than depend on people. And so the sage of blessed memory command, make your Shabbos, Sabbath, like a weekday, rather than be dependent upon others. Even if an honored scholar becomes impoverished, he should find some occupation, even a lowly job, rather than depend on people. The best thing, of course, to be self-sustaining. Yeah. And do our best to avoid taking charity. Number 16, whoever has no need to take charity and deceives people and takes will not die before actually needing charity. Anyone who needs to take charity and cannot survive unless he takes charity, for example, one who is old, sick, or suffering, but his pride doesn't allow him to take charity, sheds his own blood and is liable for his own life. And all he has for his suffering are sins. In other words, it's not praiseworthy for a person who really can't do anything else. He can't get a job. He can't work, he can't get out of his house, etc., it's not praiseworthy for him to say, I don't want to take tzedakah, I would just die of hunger, God forbid. That's not the right way. This person should accept the tzedakah. Anyone who needs charity and inflicts himself with suffering and bides his time and lives a life of suffering in order not to burden the community will not die before acquiring the means to support others. And about him it is said, blessed is the man who trusts in Hashem. Right? And it's not a contradiction, because one, we said before, is about a person who completely cannot work. He has no way to make it through at the status quo. The last part of this law, this halacha, is about a person who could make it through the tough times, just pushing himself harder. And we shouldn't know of such things. Jeremiah. So this was chapter 34 in Kitzur Shulchan Oruch, the concise code of Jewish law. Let me see if I can pull up here the 8 levels of charity disguised by Maimonides, the Rambam, and we'll take a look at that together. Here we go. Okay, I have them here. I have them on Zoom. Let me see if I can put it here also. And another share. Sharing it again here. Facebook, it's always more difficult. See, how do I do that here? I don't know how to do that. Okay, so Facebook people will forgive me. I'm gonna stop the share here. And then I'm gonna read the 8 levels of charity brought down by Maimonides. Oh, 1 second. Oh, it's top the Facebook. Oh well. Okay, so these are the 8 levels. Number 1, the greatest level above which there is no greater is to support a fellow Jew by endowing him with a gift or loan, or entering into a partnership with him, or finding employment for him in order to strengthen his hands so that he will not need to be dependent upon others. As we saw before. Okay, that's the highest. Number 2, a lesser level of charity than this is to give to the poor without knowing to whom one gives, and without the recipient knowing from whom he received. For this is performing a mitzvah solely for the sake of heaven. This is like the anonymous fund that was in the Holy Temple in Jerusalem. There, the righteous give in secret, and the good poor profited in secret. Giving to a charity fund is similar to this mode of charity, though one should not contribute to a charity fund unless one knows that the person appointed over the fund is trustworthy, wise, and a proper administrator, like Rabbi Hanani ben Tradian, who was one of the holy rabbis of the Talmud. Number 3, a lesser level of charity than this is when one knows to whom one gives, but the recipient does not know his benefactor. The greatest sages used to walk about in secret and put coins in the doors of the poor. It is worthy and truly good to do this if those who are responsible for distributing charity are not trustworthy. Number 4, a lesser level of charity than this is when one does not know to whom one gives, but the poor person does know his benefactor. The greatest sages used to tie coins into the robes and throw them behind their backs, and the poor will come up and pick up the coins out of the robes, so they would not be ashamed. And that was the goal. They weren't stealing, God forbid. It was done that way on purpose. Number 5, a lesser level than this is when one gives to the poor person directly into his hand, but gives before being asked. Number 6, a lesser level than this is when one gives to the poor person after being asked. Number 7, a lesser level than this is when one gives inadequately, but gives gladly and with a smile. And number 8, a lesser level than this is when one gives unwillingly, but at the end of the day, he's still giving. As the known diuk, as the known precise wording of the Mishnah in Pirkei about the ethics of the fathers, that it says, Arba midos minayisnet tzedakah. There are 4 attributes for attitudes in giving tzedakah, and one of them is that he shouldn't give, and others should not give either. Right? The Mishnah called him. He's one of the people that give tzedakah. Only he has this negative attitude that he doesn't want to give, and others, and he feels others shouldn't give either. But at the end of the day, he's giving also. Yeah, we'll finish with a beautiful story from the Talmud, about Rabbi Akiva and his daughter. The day that Rabbi Akiva, the famous rabbi of the Mishnah, Holy Rabbi Akiva, he started studying Torah when he was 40 years old. Said his head was like a stone, and he was a farmer. He was illiterate, and he didn't see a way for him to study. But one time he saw water dripping on a rock, and he saw that there was a dent in this rock from the water. He realized that through many days, months, years, the water does make a dent. So he thought, so too can Torah make a dent inside my head. And with his wife's blessing, went to study for 14 years, then for another 14 years. Anyway, when his daughter was born, the astrologers told him that his daughter will die the day of her wedding. That's what they said. Fast forward many years later, the daughter gets married, and as she's heading to bed the night of the wedding, she takes off a pin from her hair and sticks it into the wall to have it for tomorrow. And without noticing it, she pierced through a snake that was about to bite her. And she shared the story with her father. And he says, "Wow, what a remarkable thing! Did you do anything special that day? And what, Mary, were you saved?" So she says, after thinking, "Well, actually, I gave a nice donation to a poor person in the morning. Somebody came asking money, and I gave him a very generous donation. So in the merit of that tzedakah, quote unquote charity, of that donation, I was saved from the decree." Hope you enjoy the class. I'm Rabbi Chernitsky, the People's Rabbi, Director of Chabad of Newfoundland. You could leave us a note, comment, question, concern over here, or send me an email, rabbinewfoundland@gmail.com. And join us, please, next week for the continuation. We're going to start delving into the Lubavitcher Rebbe's teachings about Tzedakah. It's going to be fascinating, absolutely fascinating. This coming Sunday, we have a fascinating talk with Ari Sasher. He was part of the team that invented the Iron Dome in Israel, the system that shoots down rockets that are shot into Israel. So he's going to be speaking live. You could join by checking out our live feed on Chabad of Newfoundland's Facebook. That's facebook.com/Chabad NFLD, Chabad NFLD /live at 8 p.m. Newfoundland time this Sunday night, January the 9th, which is, I guess, 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. If you're able to make it, you will not regret it. It's going to be fascinating. Have a good evening. It was a